No one can tell the story of the National Alliance for Insurance Education and Research like its co-founder, Dr. William T. Hold. Let's look back on the last 50 years and see how they have shaped our co-founder and executive chairman and what he's learned.
Took a year to develop it and then try it out, and they weren't even called CIC then. We just sort of used another, and it was a seminar. We tested out, and then it became CIC, and then we had the 4 institutes: the commercial property, casualty, agency management, and personal lines, because those were the building blocks of an agency. 4 years. We never tried to expand. I mean, we're not exactly visionaries in this thing. I have to admit that. And we had the Minnesota Association, Agents Association, came to us. They said, "We heard this is a pretty good program. We're not doing particularly well as an association anyway. Could we try this in Minnesota?" So we said, "Fine. I mean, yeah, we'll try that." Meanwhile, I mean, I'm still teaching. So we expanded by me using colleagues that I had at other universities, graduate students, and then it was nights, holidays, and weekends. But I used that network of people, of graduate students and of professors I knew because everything was done at that point through a university. I was allowed to continue when I went to work for the National Association of Independent Insurers, as the head of research and development. The head of that was another sort of father-like figure to me, Vesta Lemon, and he saw the value of my connection with agents in the political process and lobbying, developing plans. So if we just get the grassroots support, get agents behind this, we'll have a better chance of implementing the policies we want. And that worked out. So he knew what I was doing all the time. And well, when we got to 8, 9 states, people said, "We don't understand how Hold can do this. How can it be the vice president of a company organization?" And I took the title as director. So I decided to do this full time, came back to Austin from Chicago. One of the biggest innovation was doing the whole thing in a package, the whole program. One fee, no ups, no extras. One fee took care of everything. The second one was having specific material that dealt with that state. Nobody had ever been able to have a course that was specific to Texas, specific to New York, specific to Oklahoma. Because when people came to an institute, they knew they were going to learn about their state. The fact that you were getting back the exam, in short order, the fact that it was all taught by practitioners, wasn't taught by university professors or company education directors. And then, of course, the big one was the continuing education. Nobody had ever said that you have to maintain this designation every year. And as a consequence of that, and we lived up to that, we enforced it. So then when CE became more popular, I was very fortunate to be part of the committee that wrote the CE laws across the country. I worked with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. That was a commissioner of Colorado. And he said, "Well, you folks are doing this. How are you doing it? What works?" So we wrote those rules, and that's why initially we were part of the laws. So we didn't have to go to the insurance commissioner and say, "Look, our courses are good. Please give us credit." We're in the law. So that gave us a real foothold. And everybody said we were crooks having the continuing education, forcing people to come back. You had to take our courses. And then 10 years later, what a great idea that was. The man's a visionary. Generally, when you have an idea, and let's say it's basically a good idea, you tell people, say, "Oh, that's a good idea. That sounds good. That might work." So they're sort of happy. Then you try it for a while, and it goes a little bit, it makes the progress. Then they say, "No, not really. It's a passing phase. This won't last. You're out of business." But then you keep on going, and then you progress the fact that you're a threat. And that's where the opposition really sets in. Become a threat to other designations, universities, to some other faculty, to associations. And then the criticism is, well, it's not really a good program. You're basically a crook. I was called the Ayatollah of Austin. I was called a mad dog that needed to be chained. All these letters going out across the country because they didn't like what we were doing. We were really pushing the envelope and this whole new idea, and a lot of people didn't like it. Well, then when it really gets going, the people say, "Gee, that was really a good idea. I was for that all the time." And then maybe the most important part is when you've done all that, what have you actually done? What legacy are you leaving? Have you really made a difference in anybody's life? How many people have you really touched? How many people have you benefited? And that's the reward in the end. When you understand what nothing is, you never take something for granted. And where there's no participants, nobody has to do this, then you run scared. I had a gentleman who said, we don't understand you. I was accused of being a fanatic and I was going to ruin the whole program and I was pushing states too hard. And this guy says, you're running this program like you're going to go bankrupt tomorrow. I said, well, we're not, but I don't want to go bankrupt tomorrow. And I'm not going to do anything that's going to hurt this program or back off from moving forward. I'm not smart enough to keep a business in the middle. You either are moving it forward or you're going backward. Running a business is like driving a car. You got to look out the windshield to see what's ahead, but you got to keep your eye in a rear view mirror to see who's behind you, and more importantly, where you are. The biggest thing in the world is finding out where you are, whether it's your weight. How do you know if you're overweight if you don't know where you are now? There's nothing to compare where you are now to. I think that's an analogy that made sense to me. You don't always be looking in the windshield talking about history and what it was. And the second, but it's important to know what you've done and why you've done it, but you've got to look forward also. That's the trick, is to balance that. And we've been, thanks to a great group of people working with me for years and years and years, we've been able to really make a difference in education and to have, one of the proudest things is to have these such long-term relationships with people, 30 years, 40 years. People have had the designation 35, 40 years who only give it up when they retire. And you have to. If you're not active, you can't have the designation. That was nobody wanted to do that. So you're going to lose money. I said, well, they're not in the business anymore. This is a designation for people active in the insurance business, not for retirees. So we have the emerituses and we have other programs, but that was the whole idea.